Let's get to something wild. For someone who famously had a lot of balls, Harvey Weinstein has no testicles. Candace Owens is doing a series looking into the Me Too movement, which she ultimately detests for how often it was abused by women, she says, who had later regrets. They had later regrets about avoidable interactions. She doesn't defend Harvey as a good guy in any way. He was most definitely a pig, but she weighs evidence and email trails against tearful testimony of a former PA on Project Runway, which this was the case that put Harvey in jail for 23 years. She relitigates this in her on her podcast. I found it riveting. The New York Court of Appeals overturned, by the way, his 23-year sentence, saying he didn't get a fair trial. A new one has been ordered. But Candace discovers through a phone chat from Harvey, she talks to Harvey from prison. She finds out he has no actual testicles. He underwent surgery in 1999 for something called Fournier's gangrene, okay? And his testicles were relocated to his inner thigh. Let's all take a minute. Oh, my God. Whoa. Look, I don't think they're in a coin purse next to his taint, per se, like the perineum merce or something. But I think, they actually were surgically placed in his thigh. You recall years ago, several alleged victims spoke of his genital dysmorphia. Well, this is it. And I'm going to say something. Do not Google the images for this. I still have not recovered. I did. So how did Harvey react to Adrian Brody's Oscar speech, invoking the names of his kids with ex-wife Georgina Chapman, who is now Adrian's girlfriend? Remember that? So Brody, just a couple days ago, he's on the stage accepting his Best Actor Oscar. He says, I share this with my amazing partner, Georgina, who has not only reinvigorated my own self-worth, but my sense of value and my values. He said, I share it with her and her beautiful children, Dash and India. Those are the children that beautiful woman right there, Georgina Chapman, has with Harvey Weinstein. He said, it's been a roller coaster, but thank you for accepting me into your life. And then he says to the kids, hey, Popsy's coming home a winner. Popsy? Thank God my daughters don't call another man Popsy. And thank God they don't call me Popsy, honestly. Popsy's a tough one. Georgina, though, is very interesting. It got me thinking about Georgina Chapman, and she's definitely on my hot list. I'd like to talk to her. She was married to Harvey around 30 years old, 31, had babies with him, right? The aforementioned. He helped her significantly in launching Marchesa, her fashion line, to the big time. I mean, she knew a thing or two about fashion beforehand, but it makes you think, was she a victim of marital abuse, right? I get not trashing the father of your kids, but she went to bed with Harvey on the regular most nights. She did an interview with Vogue in 2018, a year after the Me Too movement and the year after Harvey got hit. And the writer paints this picture going to see her at the house she shares with Harvey. 6 stories. They built it in 2006, the year before he married Georgina. Harvey built this giant place, 6 stories. And then she put her stamp all over it, with these black and white floors, these rugs, these chinoiserie, lots of gilt and glass and hydrangeas in vases and Joe Malone candles and silver frames with the children in it, and just this beautiful giant home in Tribeca. She clearly married Harvey for the money, right? The power and the prestige. I mean, he's not a handsome man. Her fashion brand definitely hit a hot streak as she started dating Harvey Weinstein. He bullied stars into wearing Marchesa. I remember Renee Zellweger showing up at the Bridget Jones, and she's in Marchesa because, it's a Weinstein Company film. You're going to be wearing it. But Harvey's unattractive in every sense of the word. And she paints a picture of having married Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Did you know this man? She says, there was a part of me that was terribly naive, clearly, so naive. I have moments of rage. I have moments of confusion. She's saying all this a year after Harvey, gets called out in the New Yorker by Ronan Farrell. I have moments of disbelief, she says, and I have moments when I just cry for my children. It's like, they love their dad. They love him. I can't bear it for the kids. So when the 1-2 punch of all the allegations against Harvey landed in early October of 2017, Georgina Chapman was in a kind of stupor. She said, I lost 10 pounds in 5 days. I couldn't keep food down. My head was spinning. It was difficult because the first article was about a time long before I'd ever met Harvey. So there was a minute where I could not make an informed decision. But then the stories expanded and I realized that this was not an isolated incident, and I knew that I needed to step away and take the kids out of here. So she fled to Los Angeles, with the kid. Perfect hideaway, Los Angeles. How did Georgina Chapman not know, though? How did she not know that Harvey was this animal? Well, everybody knew that he was creepy, and he, traded on sex for access, for actresses to get access. She said, I had what I thought was a very happy marriage. I loved my life. Asked if she was ever suspicious about his behavior, she says, absolutely not, never. For one thing, he traveled constantly, and I've never been one of those people who obsesses about where someone is. Okay, what about the initial attraction? Can you say that you were initially attracted to Harvey Weinstein? She goes, well, he's a wonderful father to my kids, but initially, he's charismatic. He's an incredibly bright, very learned man and very charitable. He paid for a friend of mine's mother who had breast cancer to go to a top doctor. He was amazing like that. He is amazing like that. And they asked her if, did Harvey give you confidence? You're much younger. She said, yes, absolutely. He was a wonderful partner to me. He was a friend and a confidant, a supporter. Yes, he's a big personality, but I wish I had the answers. So David Oyelowo, David Oyelowo, right? He played MLK in the Oscar-nominated Selma. He was in Taylor Sheridan's Lawmen, Bass Reeves as the star. Anyway, he and Georgina Chapman have been best friends since they were young, growing up in London. He said, when it came time to meeting Harvey, he said, I was in my car on Mulholland Drive and I got a call from Georgina and she said, come to Shutters on the beach. Nice hotel in Santa Monica. Said, I want you to meet my new boyfriend. Georgina was there, and the very famous producer Harvey Weinstein was there, recounts David. He says, I was still waiting for the boyfriend to emerge until it became sort of evident. Oh, this is who she meant. And I'll be 100% honest with you, I was very skeptical. Really, David? But as time went on, as they got married, and had children, there was no way of denying that this was a genuine couple. It's amazing. Now, did Georgina have daddy issues? Nope. Her parents were happily married. Her dad, a self-made man, a coffee company CEO. Mom, a journalist for Reader's Digest. They lived in a beautiful little suburb of London, about 8 miles outside. Nice little enclave. I don't know. Harvey's going to get this new trial. Candace Owens is talking to him from behind bars. I knew Harvey a little back in the day. Rob Silverstein, who produces Hot Mics here. Rob and I were on a plane coming back from the Super Bowl in Indianapolis. We had to get back to do Access Hollywood, which we were doing at the time, and we had to get back for Monday morning. So after the game, somehow through a friend of Rob's, we got a ride on the Billionaires, the Billionaire Boy Club in the sky. It was Terry Semmel's plane, and on it were all these other guys. I don't know if you can remember, Rob, but definitely Weinstein was there.
Harvey was in the back of the plane to start. We had Dana Walden's father was on, Peter,
who's going to be one of maybe running Disney here in a second.
And we had Peter. He owns the Golden State Warriors.
Peter Goober.
Peter Goober was on the plane.
Big owner of the Golden State Warriors and the LA Dodgers and the whole thing. But my memory of Weinstein on that plane was that he was sitting cross-legged on the floor wearing socks, like his business socks, and a remarkably flexible man. Like you look at that body and you say, that thing can't touch its toes.
I was regaling people with stories of my days as a producer at CBS Sports, telling about the Olympics and the Miracle on Ice game and all that kind of stuff. And Harvey heard it and came walking up and sat himself right at my feet on the ground. And
it was so weird seeing that.
Right, but he was curious, which is probably why he was a great producer in his day, because a very curious guy.
Yeah, I mean, remember then also he called one time.
Well, this was disturbing a little. So he called my office one day, and my assistant Sherry, Harvey Weinstein's on the phone. Like, oh my God, I've never had a phone call from Harvey Weinstein. I go, hello, Harv. And he says, Rob, it's Harvey. I said, I know. He says, listen.
And I'm already scared.
I got a big one for you. You have a woman who does those integrations for their selling stuff, a suitcase that usually costs $5,000 you can get for $5.
Yeah, in the middle of an entertainment show, all of a sudden we're selling mixing bowls, and it's her, right? We all see that.
And her name was Asha Leo, and she's a knockout. I said, I know, Harvey. She's a real knockout. And he used the word knockout like 5 times. And I said, Rob, I want you to hire her full-time as soon as possible. It's very important to me that you hire her full-time. So I said, Harvey, she's great. I don't know about full-time, but let me see what I can do. And we hung up. It was very nice, very cordial and everything. And we never hired her. What was interesting, when the whole Me Too movement came around and Harvey's name got involved, I had Kit Hoover, your co-host on Access Hollywood Live. They were still friends with Asha. So I said, call Asha and see if she has a story about Harvey, because she's gorgeous.
Because he's trying to get her a full-time job.
Right.
Why would he be doing her such a favor?
Right.
Yeah.
And Asha defended Harvey to Kit. Said, no, he's been a total gentleman, never did anything to me.
Well, which leads me to this. Like, everyone knew that he was super intense, and he was a bully. He bullied Rob. He called me one time and demanded to get on the air. He was a guest on Access Hollywood Live because, he had a movie and he wanted to, I don't recall the movie, but he was like, it was Oscar season. And when Harvey had an Oscar contender, he would, run through walls. He was a skeezer with the ladies, though, and Matt Damon talked about it on Good Morning America. He was a womanizer, but didn't know anything about the criminal part of it. He said, absolutely not. I will say this. He grabbed my girlfriend's ass in Cannes. Now, she wasn't my girlfriend at the time. She was a young, PR exec for Dolce & Gabbana. But she said he was a definite creep, but I'd never be afraid to be alone with him in a suite. She said, he didn't scare me in any way, just an old creepy guy. And he definitely grabbed her buns. But now, he abused his power. No doubt. We know that. I once asked a friend of mine who's a powerful Hollywood agent, this is big, how many women do you think have slept with Harvey to get ahead in the biz? Totally on their own volition, like willing participants. He said countless. Countless. Now, George Clooney said that Harvey told him about many of these people. He dropped names of all the countless people. George said he never believed it because Harvey's so unattractive. And the names get bandied about, so many rumors, like, and by the way, if you look at actresses who broke out in Weinstein films, like, you can safely assume that they're, at least they were propositioned. There's no way he didn't, take a run at Jessica Chastain when she did The Help for Weinstein in 2011. Anne Hathaway did Les Mis, won the Academy Award, by the way, for supporting actress. Jennifer Lawrence did Silver Linings Playbook. It was after Winter's Bone. It wasn't her breakthrough film, but it was a big one early. Gwyneth Paltrow, always interesting, says that Harvey made a very hard pass at her in a hotel room. He said, called Gwyneth, come to my room. She did, made a heavy pass at her, and she says she, had signed up at this time to do 2 movies with him. So he was like an important person she didn't want to upset. She said she fended him off, but was scared it might have tanked her prospects with these 2 movies. Like, oh no, did I just kill my career? Imagine having to think about that. Like, that's sad. And she hadn't broken out yet. Luckily, she told her boyfriend at the time what had happened, and he had broken out. That boyfriend, Brad Pitt, who stood up to Harvey.
We had
Listen to this.
one instance in a hotel room where he made a pass at me. And then I really kind of stood up to him. I told my boyfriend at the time,
Brad Pitt.
I told him right away, and I was very shaken by the whole thing. And I had 2 movies. I'd signed up to do 2 movies with him.
And were you afraid that the movies would be canceled? Or
I
you
was
would be
afraid.
Yeah, sure, because this was a good thing.
And Brad Pitt, the opening of Hamlet on Broadway, that Ralph Fiennes was in Hamlet, and Harvey was there, and Brad Pitt, it was like the equivalent of throwing him against the wall, energetically. It was like...
Makes you love Brad, right? That's what Stern was so engrossed in all that. That was a great interview, and makes you love Brad Pitt. But what about all the actresses that didn't have a Brad Pitt or someone that, could stand up and throw him against the wall? Anyway,